If you've been making art for a long time, you probably have a lot of art all around you, a lot of art supplies, a lot of stuff you've made, good, bad, genius, indifferent. What's going to happen to it? Where's it all going to go? Are you going to be like Picasso, where they have giant warehouses full of stuff? Or is it all going to go in the bin? It's a question a lot of people seem to be concerned about. And so I wrote an essay about it, and I wanted to share it with you. And see if you find it interesting as a concept. So let me read it to you. So we just came upon a new TV show that's called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, which is a terrifying name, I know, but it got me thinking about something that might be on your mind too. The idea of the show is that in Sweden, people prepare for their deaths by editing down their possessions so that their relatives won't have to deal with it all after the funeral. And I've been there, not to Sweden, but when my sainted mother-in-law moved into assisted living a few years ago, we spent a week emptying her house into two big dumpsters, and it was not fun for anyone. So on Swedish Death Cleaning, or I'll call it SDC, 3 chipper Swedes help people to go through all of their crap and to cull it and to make plans for what's left. It's sort of like Queer Eye meets Hoarders, and it's the kind of programming that's right up my alley for some reason. So over the years, a lot of people have emailed me to ask, what will happen to all my sketchbooks when I die? And they tell me that they've amassed loads of drawings and paintings and art supplies, all of which I applaud, that's great, but they don't think that their adult children will be interested in 100 drawings of mom's shoes, or a plastic trunk full of mixed media experiments, or drawers jammed with watercolor swatches and dried up fine liners. So watching SDC has helped me to come up with a few answers. First, start thinking about this now, no matter your age or your health. Not just because you don't want to burden your heirs, but because life is always better when it's lived consciously. So start by asking yourself, do I really need each of these things? As Marie Kondo would ask, is each object bringing you joy? Too often we buy art supplies in order to scratch the creative itch, but then don't end up figuring out how to use them. We keep holding on to the fantasy that one day we'll take a ceramics class, or we'll do something with all those gold markers, or those rolls of washi tape, or those Victorian rubber stamps. But instead they gather dust and they dry up in an old White Owl cigar box in the spare bedroom closet. So look through all your stuff and establish an expiration date. If you don't use it by X months from now, it's going out. Even though it costs a lot of money and you'd like to think of yourself as someone who polishes rocks or makes hand-woven coasters or had read all of Julia Cameron's books, use it or lose it. Make something cool, or if it doesn't really fit with your reality, bin it. And I don't mean actually bin it. Just because you can't use something doesn't mean that someone else can't. So find an organization in your town that repurposes art supplies for people who need them, like schools or prisoners or shelters. Martha Stewart has an article about it, and I'm going to put it in the notes below. It has lots of good resources that'll help you to get through this. When you're done with this phase, your load is going to be lighter, and your son-in-law will breathe a sigh of relief. Now, let's talk about all the art that you've made, all the stacks of canvases and newsprint life drawing pads and numbered editions of prints and shelves of sketchbooks and all that stuff you know that your grandkids will cart right to the curb. You're thinking to yourself, I'm not a great artist. Nobody's ever going to be interested in all this stuff. Even that colored pencil drawing of a schnauzer that I labored over most of the winter of 1989. But let's pretend for a minute that you are a great artist, a great undiscovered genius. And as they trundle your corpse out of the house on a gurney, they look around in shock. This is a treasure trove. They call the Whitney and the Met. LACMA and the Guggenheim are in a bidding war over your crocheted bunnies and your gel prints. Now what? They'll bring in curators. and they'll slip on their white gloves and they'll go through every desk drawer and cardboard box, even the ones in the attic and the garage. And they'll photograph each piece and they'll fill index cards with specifics about it. And they'll prepare that artist statement that you never got around to writing. And they'll select a number of emblematic pieces to cement your legacy. Your one-person retrospective will feature glass cases and subdued lighting and a coffee table monograph and celebrity visitors and a curated selection of representative pieces. Let's say 30 in all. So let's help the curators out and do their work for them. Decide which of your pieces is truly the best, which achieves what you set out to say, which ones really embody you as an artist, and bin the rest. Now, take those 30 pieces and, frame and hang them, or pick one and write a thoughtful letter to your favorite nephew explaining why you'd like him to have this piece to remember you by. Or give it to your favorite bartender, or your favorite checkout lady, or your favorite mailman. Or open an Etsy store and see if you can sell it real cheap. Spread the joy, and don't worry if they'll just end up binning it for you. As you go through the archives, you may discover that you haven't quite accomplished what you set out to do, that you've gotten close, but you could still do something more to capture that image, that feeling in your heart. Fine, do it. But do it in an uncluttered studio in a tidy house with maybe one watercolor set and a fresh fine liner or two. Here's the lesson of SDC. Stuff won't make you happy. It may distract you, it may cloak your pain, but it's just stuff. The art we make is more valuable, but it's still stuff. What truly matters is the process, the joy that we get from making, not from having made. That and the living we've done. We're on a crazy journey, and once we reach the end of it, we won't take any of this crap along. But we will leave memories and lessons and wisdom and love in the hearts that we've touched. Art is precious to those of us who make it because we love the making. Enjoy that. And don't worry if it's going to be appreciated by anyone else, if it was worth it. It was. And if you show how you appreciated what you did by editing and cherishing it, you'll pass that love, not just the stuff, to the ones who will continue to pass it along. I'm not Swedish, far from it, but I hope this has been helpful. Oh, and P.S. I have a quick P.S. to add. If you've been printing out my essays and you've been stacking them on some dusty ledge somewhere, you can bin those too. I'm close to being done with my book of essays, and you can order it soon. In the meantime, start thinking about which book you're going to give away to make room on the shelf. Hope that was helpful. I hope this is something that you've thought about. No matter what age you are, you can still put this into practice. Think about the art you make. Think about the way you make it. Think about the environment that you're making it in. Think about the materials you use and be conscious about it. Don't just keep hoarding stuff and putting it away for one day. Use it now, or else make a plan for what you're going to do about it. It'll make you much happier. It's much more pleasant to work in a clean, organized studio than it is to kind of walk through piles of crap that you don't use and just make you feel lousy because you don't use them. So looking at your work and assessing it and figuring out what you like, what you think you did best, also helps you for the next step of what you're going to make next. You can see where you're going to go. All right, thanks very much. If you'd like me to send you my essays, I write a lot of them, and people tell me that they like them. So if you'd be interested, you can sign up, and I'll send them to you too. Danny Gregory is my name, and Danny'sEssays.com is the website to go to. Have a great day. Bye-bye.